Hi again, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership Rules, where we believe leadership isn't just a role, it's a way of life. Whether you're leading a team, a community, or simply leading yourself, we're here to help you unlock the rules to lead your life with purpose and impact. I'm Nick Niglio, joined by my co-host Marnie Stockman. Together, we co-authored Lead It Like Lasso and the Business of You, and we're thrilled today to have Matt Miller join us on the show.
Yay! Thanks for joining us, Matt. Let me tell you a little bit about Matt. Matt is someone who has been shaping how educators think about teaching with technology way before AI. He's the voice behind the Ditch That Textbook series and the very popular newsletter of the same name, where he's really helped thousands of teachers move from static instruction to something way more engaging, creative, and relevant for the kids. His latest work, we're excited to chat about. AI Literacy in Any Class hit #1 on Amazon and focuses on something we don't talk about enough, which is not about how to use more tools, but how to help students think better in a world where AI is everywhere. So today we're going to talk about leadership in a moment where education, technology, and human judgment are really all colliding in one. And Matt is right in the middle of it. So welcome to the party, Matt.
Yes, thank you so much. So excited about this conversation. I don't know if I'm going to be able to live up to that introduction you gave me. It's very generous, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited to talk about this because I really do think this is something that lots of folks are wrestling with. We're trying to figure out where it all sort of like fits in education. We're still trying to do right by kids and to prepare them, but like, yeah, there's just so many factors. And when you throw in brand new technology for so many of us and everything, it's a really trying time. And we're just trying to do the best that we can, I think.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. We talk about it quite a bit. So we're really excited to have this conversation. But before we do that, we like to, with all of our guests, get to know you a little bit better. And we do something from our Lasso days, Biscuits with the Boss, some quick icebreaker questions. So you ready to get started with us, Matt?
I think so, yes.
All right. First concert, best concert.
Oh, goodness. First concert that I can remember, I was a student at Indiana State University, and there was this, what are they, like an alternative rock band called Garbage? I don't know if any of you remember them.
Yeah.
That's the first one that I remember going to. And gosh, best concert. I'm a big fan of contemporary Christian music, and there was a group called Audio Adrenaline back when I was in college, and I still remember that concert from for even up till now. Like I've seen lots of other ones. That's the one that sticks out probably for me.
Very nice.
Are you only happy when it rains? I think that's what Garbage sang.
That was one of their. That's impressive, Nick.
I don't know where that came from. Yeah.
I couldn't have remembered that myself. So good for you.
Yeah. So for the record, he can do this with any sports, anything. It is shocking. But when he,
I didn't say,
but I'm saying,
Larry
but
Bird,
when he also,
I could have.
but then he pulls out music and just blows my mind. Like, all right, how about this one? Coffee or tea?
Coffee, 100%. Although I do like tea.
100% coffee. Got it.
Dog or cat?
Dog. I have 2 dogs at home, and we have not had a cat. So
fair. How do you take in your books? Paperback, audio, electronic? How do you read?
Paperback is my favorite. Although I am a runner. I'm not a fast runner, but I am a runner, and I do like listening to audiobooks. Although I've found that I internalize and information sticks better if I'm reading a paperback book. And I know I did write a book and have created a brand called Ditch That Textbook. That doesn't mean that I don't like books. It means that I don't like traditional textbooks and having to do everything out of them. So I'm still big fan of paperback.
Ditto.
Okay, perfect. Last one, a little deeper. Leadership. Is it more art or more science from your perspective?
Oh, goodness. You can make a case for both, obviously. I don't know. I feel like for me, it's actually more art, just sort of like that happy symphony orchestra of all of these different, sort of like factors that go into it. There's an appreciation of the people that you're working with and, trying to build the culture and the environment around and everything. And it feels more to me like painting a masterpiece instead of getting a science experiment right.
Oh, when you started with the music orchestra analogy, I thought like, yeah, I played piano for 7 years like a mathematician. Put the finger down as long as it's supposed to be. Like it wasn't artistry at all. And then when you said painting, I was like, it's the difference between paint by number and actual artwork. Totally get it. Well, thanks for playing our game. I think we'd agree that it's some of each, but heavy on the art. So I'd like to ask you if you could kind of go back a bit to ditch that textbook. I'm with you on ditching the textbook. I was a high school math teacher, so I can tell you that we need some textbooks for some of the math curriculum so folks have a place to go. But I like the notion of ditch that textbook. So tell us how you got here from there, or
absolutely here. And I think it's a little bit misinterpreted sometimes. I've seen some places where people seem to think that, I hate textbooks and I don't think that you should ever use them, which is not the case. It really sort of goes back to my own experience as a high school Spanish teacher, where I taught for several years right out of the textbook, marching chapter by chapter.
I was going to say, you just don't want teachers standing there with the textbook in front of their face.
No, exactly. And I was that guy for a little while, worksheets and workbook pages and questions at the end of the chapter and everything. And after teaching that way for a few years, I started to have this realization that a lot of the students in my high school Spanish classes couldn't speak Spanish. And that was a problem. And so I started to realize that when I got out of those, march through the textbook, do the activities as prescribed and everything. And we started bringing, some creativity and some technology, and we started getting more conversational, trying a whole bunch of other different things. When I started owning the curriculum myself and trying to pour myself into it and everything, it started to change things. And I started to need the textbook less and less and less and less until eventually, after several years, and I developed all of these new ways of doing things, I'm going, what do I even need these things for anymore? And so, and we find ourselves today in a really interesting place where especially in recent months, there's become more and more backlash against technology. There's lots of folks that are saying, kids learn better whenever they don't use technology. Oh, you need to use paper and pencil. We need to go back to doing books and everything. And it's interesting, as a guy who has a brand called Ditch That Textbook, I'm looking at it and I'm going, most of the teachers I know never totally departed away from paper and books and face-to-face and all of that stuff. I don't know where we're getting this narrative, but I think, everything in moderation, right? It's like, if it helps, if it improves things, and that's sort of the nature of Ditch That Textbook, is it's this feeling that whenever you march chapter by chapter through a textbook with kids and there's no feeling, there's no relevance, there's no emotion in it, there's nothing interesting in it, it's like it just becomes this sort of like dry, passive way of learning. And I'm going, no, we got to do a little bit better than that. And there's this weird sort of like all or nothing thinking between, we have to teach by the books and paper and technology is terrible, or technology is everything and we've got to use it for everything. And I'm going, all of the best teachers that I know are not on either side of that spectrum.
They do a little of everything.
They're in like a very sensible middle ground where they're going, I'm just going to do minute by minute, day by day, what's best for kids. And sometimes it's technology and sometimes it isn't. So anyway, that's where the Ditch That Textbook started. And then this is the battle that I feel like I'm fighting today when it comes to all of that.
So let's stick a little bit with the Ditch That Textbook and the newsletter, right? Because tell us, I know that it's a very popular newsletter, right? Tell us who it's written for, what somebody can get out of it, and just give us some idea, our audience, some idea of what they might see if they subscribe to your newsletter.
Yeah, absolutely. We try to stay hyper focused on practical things that teachers can use right away. So sometimes that might be, here's an activity you can use right now. Here's a Google Slides template you can download and adjust to fit your needs. Here's a teaching strategy you might not have thought of. And so we try to keep it really, really practical. I've had people tell me that my emails are the ones that they actually open in their inbox whenever they get these newsletters, because it's stuff that they can apply right away. But it's also, it's also sort of a place for us to talk about what's going on in education right now. Like sometimes, I'm teaching in the class. I teach face to face every day. And so sometimes I will just show up and write about how, like I'm rethinking the way that I handle like cheating in my class, because I used to spread everybody out, make them put their phones on the desk and, do all of that stuff. Actually, I still do some of that stuff, but I've had second thoughts about it, because I'm going, what message am I communicating to my students by saying, put all your things away? And it's almost like saying, I think that you're going to cheat from the first moment. And that starts to change the relationship that I'm building with the students. And I had sort of like a crisis in belief moment there. And I got on the newsletter and I wrote about it. And so you'll see sort of like a wide variety of all that stuff, but I really try to make it like, sometimes you go to professional development and you're done with it and you go, I don't know how I'm going to use this. I don't know how this applies to what I do. My focus is to try to meet teachers where they are every single time and provide them with something that actually impacts their practice.
Love that.
I as a side note, I saw one today that I sent. So my daughter's currently teaching fourth grade ELA, and it was talking about how you can rarely get a kid to go back into a book, right? It's like, that's a struggle. And this particular activity, they put up things like things I would never say to my mom. And they had to find a quote from the book, or they kind of did memes where the kids had to go back to the book to find a quote from it, which I think was a great way to get them to understand moments in the book a little bit differently. So there you go. Some potential newsletter fodder for you.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we love. So I love that example. That's great.
Yeah. I can ship the actual link to you so you don't have to imagine what I was thinking of there. So, so AI literacy in any class, that's the current moment in time of what you're working on. I think it's going to be the moment in time for several more moments, by the way. So what brought you to that?
Yeah. Some of it came right out of my own class. Thanks a lot, OpenAI. They released ChatGPT to the world in November 2022 when teachers weren't ready for them to do that yet. Schools were not.
Nobody told us where was our PD.
Yeah, exactly. So shame on them.
That kind of thing happens in July when we're ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. At least give us a little bit of warning or something. But no, it just kind of appears right away. And, over the next, especially that first year, we're all trying to figure out what in the world is this technology? How's it going to impact what we do in the classroom and everything? And so we're starting to finally get some answers on all of that. But I think one of the things that we're all starting to see is that, if AI isn't going anywhere, then what do students need to know to be able to survive and thrive in this world where more and more AI is continuing to get integrated in more and more places? The term that I've used a lot lately is an AI saturated world, where it seems to be everywhere. It seems to be impacting everything. It's in our algorithms. It's in the suggestions that we get in Netflix and Amazon. It's in our map apps. It's unlocking our phone with our face. Like, artificial intelligence really is sort of like touching almost everything. And whenever we talk about AI literacy, sometimes people think, oh, that means that we need to have students working with chatbots, where they need to be doing their homework with ChatGPT and everything. And it was those misconceptions, I think, that really made me think somebody needs to address this, And I started to see that some of the folks that were talking about AI literacy were like, the big talking heads on LinkedIn, or the tech CEOs, or like some of these people that haven't set foot in a classroom in a long time. And I was looking at my own personal high school Spanish classes, and I started to see AI literacy just sort of naturally pop up in the course of class. For example, in my high school Spanish classes, I love using AI image generators to make pictures that have lots of our vocabulary in it. Mm-hmm. And then I can just ask my students a million questions, or have them describe the pictures. And I get these like custom pictures that have my exact vocabulary in it, and it's fantastic. But when I started putting those up on the big screen in front of class so that we could use them, early AI image generators, we had 6 fingers, or
Six fingers,
yeah, we had a cow with 5 legs, or we had a car that didn't have enough seats in it, or was going the wrong way, or, it was just like all of that stuff. And I remember one of them I put up on the screen. It was a pig and a sheep playing basketball. And there was all sorts of stuff, and there were all sorts of artifacts in this picture. And so I just stopped. In the moment, you identify that what students are doing. They're all sort of like chuckling. And so I look at the picture and I look at them and I said, point out all of the AI weirdness that you can find. And so they started pointing it out. And I'm like, could you guys tell
Spanish, I hope?
Say it again.
I said in Spanish, I hope.
No, actually, we did that before we did this in Spanish. This was just just for fun. And that's what I thought it was at first, it was just a silly little departure to, kind of pick them back up and get them going again. But then I started to realize that little moments like that, whenever I identified this was made by AI, we started to have AI literacy conversations. How could you tell that it's artificial? Are there places where you wouldn't use this kind of thing? Was it important that I disclosed it? What are some of the problems with using this kind of stuff? And it just kind of naturally comes up. And then the kids are like, how did you get that? Could I make a picture like that too? And so, all of those little conversations are AI literacy. And that was my aha moment. I was like, we don't need to teach AI literacy in a canned unit. Yeah. We don't need to teach it in a specific class. I mean, we can have specific classes about AI literacy. That's fine. But it comes up in the natural course of what we teach in our day-to-day classes. And the other thing that's nice about it too is that if we bring AI generated content into class, we can critique it and analyze it. And if it's content about what we're already teaching anyway, we can have higher level conversations about our content and also learn little lessons about AI literacy. It can all kind of work together. And that was my aha moment where I was like, we need a book about this, because so much of the stuff I've seen about AI literacy is we need to teach kids about large language models. We need to teach them about AI bias. We need to teach them about hallucinations. We need to, and it's like data privacy and like all of this stuff. And I'm just looking at that and I'm going, where in the day-to-day classes of today's schools is that going to fit in? You can fit it into, the tech teacher could teach it.
Yeah.
But if we want to have it in real natural context of a classroom, it doesn't fit anywhere. And I was like, somebody needs to connect the dots here. So I wrote a book that connected the dots.
My mom, who is turning 80, uses AI. She will use ChatGPT, but I bet she does not use the word large language model ever. Right. Yeah. But she does know not to put data into chat, so there are things that, that might be some element of literacy, but not really relevant about the LLM, framing.
And it's like driving a car, right? Like so first of all, I'm married to the daughter of someone who owns an auto shop. My father-in-law owns his own. He actually just retired recently. You could open up the car and I wouldn't be able to point to where the carburetor is. I don't know. Do they even have carburetors anymore?
Let me ask my son.
Yeah, exactly. But you could pick out a lot of things in that car and I wouldn't be able to point to it. But if you close the hood and I get in the car, I can turn it on and I can drive it. And I can do a lot of stuff with that car, even if I don't know how the guts work. Now, if I understand how the parts under the hood work a little bit better, it impacts the way that I use it. Like I'm not going to, rev up the engine. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of dumb stuff with it. It's kind of the same way with AI. You can be a user of AI. Your mom, Marnie, is a user of AI and knows some of the safeguards, but she doesn't have to understand how neural networks work, right?
Correct.
What a great analogy. And I think keeping with that analogy, just like you said, Matt, right? I don't know the inner workings of a car, but I know when I drive fast, something bad might happen. Or if I drive without a seatbelt, I put myself at risk. So kind of along those lines, as you were writing this book, did you pick up on anything where educators were making repeatable and big mistakes with the use of AI, or is it more focused on the literacy standpoint, right? Because I'm curious, I do believe that there is a lot of room for error when using AI. Is that covered in your book or not so much? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I think so. You asked were there any mistakes that they were making, or like you said, there's a lot of potential for error. And yeah, I do definitely address that. And I think that's important too. I think there's sort of a misconception by lots of educators that if you're going to use AI to create resources, that it has to be perfect. And I think some of the strongest AI literacy lessons come when you take that raw output from AI and you just simply analyze it. Now, what I don't think we want to do is I don't think we want to create all of our teaching materials straight out of an AI large language model and just deliver them to students, because there's potential for inaccuracies and bias, and it might not be the exact direction that you want to go or incorporating the elements that you want to incorporate. So a lot of that can still come from vetted materials, which could be a textbook. Again, not that I hate textbooks. It's just, but once we've got sort of that foundational understanding, let's say, for instance, one of my favorite examples that I've been rolling with a lot recently is, let's say that we're studying the poetry of Emily Dickinson. Okay. And let's say we've studied some of Dickinson's poems. We've started to see some of her tendencies and everything. And we turn to AI and we say, write me a poem in the style of Emily Dickinson about hot Cheetos and Takis. Talk about something that kids love, right? Like all of those spicy, like crummy snacks that are probably not good for you that they still love to eat. And so it spits out a poem in the style of Emily Dickinson about Takis and hot Cheetos. I actually have this particular example built into some of my presentations. And so I'll put the prompt up at the top and I won't show them the poem yet. I'm like, are you guys curious to see what it comes up with? Like, yes, show it to me. There's another one I do where you summarize the Peloponnesian War using as many Taylor Swift titles and lyrics as possible. And they want to see that one too. Yeah. But you put it up there and then all of a sudden now the ability to critique and analyze kicks in.
Which is a higher order thinking skill, which you mentioned earlier, which is people have struggled to bring that to the classroom because they're so busy at the bottom levels.
Yes. Yeah. So Marnie, you spotted it exactly. There's that, but then you also are building in that critique muscle of whenever I see something from AI, I need to do critical analysis of it. I need to take a look at it and make sure that it's any good, that it's accurate, that it's not unfair, that it's useful for what I want to do, like all of that stuff. And so you don't have what I just suggested right there, Emily Dickinson poem about Takis and hot Cheetos. You don't have to do that every single day. You don't have to do it every single week. But if students get exposed to this on a somewhat regular basis, I'm even thinking like in high school, if it was, first period through seventh period, and you had an activity like this once a month, 7 times, maybe 6 months, 42 little exposures to this every year, kids are going to get a pretty practical feel for AI literacy and ethics and responsibility and analysis and all of that stuff in pretty short order. And actually, to follow that up, in my book, I even suggest that this isn't just the stuff for high school and middle school, that this even trickles down into elementary. And I would even argue into the K2 realm too. Now, what I'm not suggesting here is that you want, kindergartners on ChatGPT or even interacting with chatbots. But with some of the younger kids, you can start to set the scene for all of this stuff by saying things like, the computer made this for me. All of a sudden identifying that technology is able to make things and humans are able to make things. Or I drew this and the computer and the computer didn't. So in that case, showing this was created by a human. And then even asking, do you see this silly picture? Do you think the computer made this or not? So see, like
Highlights magazine. Do you remember that in the doctor's office of find the mistakes?
Yes, exactly. And so if you start to do some of that stuff, even in the early years, you're setting the foundation for AI literacy to be built on eventually. It's like starting to set those foundational skills of what is the right role of technology and humanity in this world. It goes all the way down to that too, I think.
Yeah. You mentioned something that Nick and I have talked about. You had said early on with why you wouldn't have all of the curriculum just fed to you through AI agents or whatever, because it might not be the path you're taking. Nick and I will talk about how you can get stuck in a thread, and when it starts suggesting something to you, it's taking a 1 degree turn from where, like, nope, I wanted to go down this path, and it like, oh, did you want to do this? Oh, okay, I'll do this. And then 3 answers later, you're like, criminy, 5 minutes ago, I was trying to get here and you've distracted me, darn it.
It's like when you're like on a boat out on the water, and if you go 1 degree off course for just a little while, all of a sudden you've veered completely off. And so, that's where I'm so glad you brought this up, because I think, whenever AI enters the mix, especially when teachers are using it for creating resources or getting teaching ideas or whatever, it's up to the teacher to keep the compass pointing towards the north. That's where it's up to an experienced teacher to know if the stuff that is being suggested is any good, or if it's junk, or if it's just a little bit of junk, how can it be improved? Like that's where, but there's all of this talk about, are teachers going to become obsolete and everything? I don't know about you, but I think we're going to need teachers, like good quality, high performing educators more than ever, because we're going to have that extra level of discernment and judgment and everything. And it plays right into exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, 100%.
What I find crazy interesting is, Marnie and I, our whole mission is about, we talk about the fact that even though AI is all over the place, that we are in the midst of character revolution. We stole that from Adam Grant, right? It's, it's because it's the human skills that matter more than anything. And from our perspective, that is something that there's very little dedicated curriculum for in K through 12 schools, right? It's just something that students are expected to pick up kind of as part of their experience, right? There might be a course here or a course there on it at the high school level. But I kind of think, right, that's what's going to differentiate students as they kind of move into their adulthood. And that's what they need to have in their toolkit. And I'm thinking everything that you're saying, Matt, is the missing component to that, right? Because the other thing that they absolutely 100% need in this world of AI is literacy around AI. And I think what's fascinating about the way you're presenting all this stuff is you're talking about it, by injecting the human side, the discernment, the judgment, questioning, critiquing, all those things, not how necessarily to use the tools, although I'm sure that's part of it somewhere, but it's really about how this impacts, my, anything I can do in my progress moving forward, and how important that's going to be.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And if we think about how do we really want to prepare students for this uncertain future where AI technology will change and we really can't pinpoint exactly where it's going to go or what it's going to do, what do we do to be nimble and agile to be able to respond to all of those things? Well, that goes right back to all of those timeless human thinking skills that we've developed in kids for so long: our problem solving, our critical thinking, our analysis, grit, perseverance. I mean, just like all of that stuff is the stuff that if we don't know where the technology is going, that's the stuff that will help us to adapt. Because it's just like you said, Nick, if we try to teach them how to prompt Chat GPT well today, 5 years, what is that going to look like?
5 years?
Yeah.
5 years, they'll just think it and they'll get the response back, right?
All the way back in college, I was a journalism major, and I had this class called Intro to Computers and Journalism. And they made us buy one of those great big iOmega zip disks because we were going to really need that in our journalism career. So we might as well go ahead and invest in one. And it's like, those things were gone by the time I graduated college. And it makes me think the same thing about kids in K-12 and in college as well. Right now, if we try to teach them the technology is evolving so quickly. What do we want to do? We want to help them to have those thinking and judgment and problem solving skills and, reasoning and discernment. Like all of those things will help them to adapt to the technology as it changes.
Yeah. I could go on for days.
Me too.
Yes, I'm with you. Nick, what say you?
Yeah. First of all, so good. I mean, like Marnie said, we can go on for days. Let's wrap it up, Marnie, because we're kind of nearing our
Yeah.
our
Our
time
magic
here,
witching hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, we super appreciate this. So my last question for you that we like to end all of our episodes with is, what is a leadership rule that you always follow or you think everyone should follow?
Yeah. And I'll sort of like frame this through the lens of, schools, of like school leaders. I would say, forgive me if this sounds too basic, but keep the main thing the main thing.
Oh,
So that means now that there's AI, and there's all of these different technology tools, and there's all of these different programs and initiatives and everything, it's so easy for especially in the classroom, for teachers to start to fragment off into all of those different things. And instead of trying to figure out, how do we integrate technology, how do we integrate AI, how do we make sure that we use this new plan or initiative or whatever, it's like we've still got to keep our compass. We talked about compasses earlier, pointing towards the north, and we got to figure out what is the main thing, and just keep hyper vigilant on the main thing, no matter what that is.
so
Perfect.
good.
That's awesome. So Matt, tell our audience where they can find out more about you, more about Ditch the Textbook, more about AI literacy in any class. Just tell us anything we need to know about you.
Yeah. Well, the best place probably is my email newsletter that comes out twice a week that we were talking about earlier, that almost 140,000 people around the world get at this point. So if you want to be one of those, if you're not following, like, what are you doing?
I already am. Yeah.
If you want to subscribe to that for free, you can go to ditch.link/join, and that'll get you a bunch of free ebooks with practical teaching ideas. I also have an email newsletter for school leaders, since we're talking about leadership here. It's called AI for Admins, and it's really for anybody who's making some of those school and district and organization level decisions about AI. And so, if you just search for AI for Admins newsletter, hopefully that'll take you to my newsletter. And then, of course,
all the bots are working properly.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, the book AI Literacy in Any Class. This is a book that's written for folks that are trying to figure out how it fits in today's regular classrooms. It's a way to teach AI literacy, but also strengthen your teaching and what you're teaching already. That's why it's called AI Literacy in Any Class. And of course, you can go, on Amazon or wherever you buy books to be able to find that. It's available in paperback and Kindle ebook. So those are the ones. I'm doing a bunch of stuff on LinkedIn and TikTok and some of the other socials and everything too. So of course, feel free to go follow me there.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thanks
and
so
we'll
much.
put all of that in the show notes. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Matt. We really appreciate it.
I love the conversation. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.